Welcome to another episode of Footnotes. Today we're going to be talking to Frank Cason. Frank's going to be talking to us about what it's like to leave certainty and to go into the unknown. And what I mean by that is starting a business. Frank's going to be talking to us about what it's like to start small, what it's like to get advice, what good advice looks like, but also what bad advice looks like. So check this out. Of course, your company is Cason Development Group, and you've been doing that for a number of years. But could you talk to me a little bit about what are you doing right now?
So we focus on two different areas of real estate development. We're focused on national retail outside of the Columbia area, primarily in South Carolina. And inside of Columbia, we're a little more opportunistic in the projects that we work on and focus on. So we've worked on retail, office. We've got some multifamily stuff underway right now.
And I think I remember, looking back at some of my notes, that from our interview before the interview, you have a passion for food and beverage.
We've actually done both national retail and local food and beverage projects. Fun to be able to blend the work and passion, sort of more of a hobby and passion too.
Yeah, that is cool when you can get those things to intersect. You know, one of the things that I think people are sort of curious about is sort of the start. What was your first project when you went out on your own as Cason Development Group? Tell us a little bit about what project number one was.
When I came out, I didn't really had an idea. I had a concept of what I wanted a company to look like. This is 5.5 years ago now, but was fortunate enough that the Lord allowed two different projects right out of the gate for us to work on. And one was a national retail and one was a local operator who came to me and said, I want to do a restaurant. I want to open a restaurant. And of course, first response was cheery to, who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And throughout the conversation, and a friend had connected us. I knew the guy, or I knew of him. And he and his partner had what I thought was a really good concept. And they had financial abilities to make it happen, and they just needed help, and they weren't getting the time of day from any local real estate folks. They couldn't. We found a site for them, looked all around Columbia, and found what we felt like was the perfect fit. And that restaurant was called the Warmouth. They're still open today. So that was first local project, and the other was a Taco Bell franchisee that we did that for them. That was in Orangeburg, Taco Bell, and ended up building 3 more restaurants for them.
Going back to the Warmouth for a second, when you think about that first conversation you had where someone sort of had a dream and an idea and maybe even a little bit of financial backing. So from that conversation to the doors are open, we're ready for the public to come and eat and drink here. How long did that take? That
project took us from the first conversation to opening the doors. Mm-hmm. It was a year. It was right at 12 months. Yeah. And that was actually a relatively quick one too.
What I'm curious about is when you were beginning to think, okay, I want to go out on my own. I want to have this business. I want to do these kind of things, have these kind of clients, do this kind of work, and then knowing that your first project took a year to complete. What kind of planning, thinking, even dreaming did you do in the time period between, hey, I know I want to go on my own, but I'm not on my own yet?
I've been in real estate for about 12 years, I guess, when I went out. I knew a little bit, but I didn't really know what it was going to take or what it meant. So I thought about it for a long time. I'd say started really thinking about it in earnest 6 months before I left, and then really started putting it down and focusing on what exactly I wanted to do and what I wanted to build in the last 1 to 3 months.
Now, when you say put it down, do you mean the proverbial business plan, or what were you literally putting down? Was it on paper? Was it just up here? I mean, how were you capturing those thoughts and plans?
Yeah. I'm not a business plan, put things down on paper kind of person, to be honest. So my dad who I have a ton of respect for, who's been very blessed with the business that he started, said, you need to put a business plan together. And I was kind of like, oh, really? Is that? I don't really want to do that. And but I did it, and I put it down on paper. And there's just something about taking your thoughts up here that you might think are clear, but when you put it down on paper, one, you start to realize how unclear it is. Two, you have to think about writing it in a way that someone else is going to read it, and it has to be clear to them too. I've looked at that business plan. I don't look at the business plan every week, but I've looked at it. We continue to do pretty much exactly what I outlined in the business plan.
Now, I think you mentioned that you wrote it down so that other people could understand what you had written. Did you show this to other people, or did you just keep this to yourself?
Yeah, I showed it to a few people, who were sort of close, trusted advisors, because I wanted feedback. And then when you think about presenting anything to someone else, you're going to do it better. You're going to put it down more clearly. You're going to put more effort into it. So,
were you nervous about showing it to other people, or were you pretty confident when you handed it to them that they would agree with you or pat you on the back or congratulate you? I mean, what was your mindset when you were sort of handing it off?
Probably a little bit of both. I probably get a little more nervous than presenting something like that, thinking they're going to think this is foolish or crazy or idiotic, for doing this. And I also didn't want people to say, "This is great. I mean, you're just crushing it with this idea," because that's not helpful.
Why is that not helpful?
Well, I, in my opinion, we don't need to just be patted on the back for you putting down an idea on paper. And your idea is usually a good one. I mean, in theory, right?
Right.
If it wasn't, then you wouldn't have thought about it or put it down on paper. So there's a lot of good ideas out there, but can you execute on it? And so that was what I really wanted people to give me input on. Can I, me, do you think I can execute this rather? And do you think this is an executable business plan as well?
It sounds like you said it's not only the plan that they're evaluating, but they're evaluating the planner. In other words, they're evaluating you as a person, gifts, talents, strengths, weaknesses, and sort of aligning that with what it's saying that you want to do. Let's say that you're this person out there, hypothetical person that's on the verge, or maybe even was on the verge of going out on their own. In other words, leaving certainty, if you will, the certainty of a paycheck, the certainty of a career path, the certainty of just what was in the past. They're going out into the future in something that is uncertain. What would you say is the next sort of right thing or the next step that they should focus on to further that journey?
I think you need to start with getting someone's feedback or opinion. And that doesn't mean you have to take all the opinions and the feedback that you get, but there's power with knowledge. And so the more opinions and ideas you get, the more you can refine what it is that you want to do. And that's not to suggest that if I had 4 people look at my business plan and 2 of them said don't do it and 2 of them said do it, or 3 of them said don't do it and 1 said do it, that I would have canned it. But the feedback and the follow-up question of, well, why would you say that, and how can I refine it, and how can I fine-tune it, it is very powerful and very important. So if you're planning to make a big decision to quit your job or to go take a risk and start something new, there should be some thought, a considerable amount of thought, effort, energy put in beforehand.
What were the good questions that people asked you?
When you're putting together a business plan, think about it from the perspective of an investor. Even if you're not going to have investors in your company, would someone invest in this? Would you invest in this? And if you were asked to invest in it, what are some of the questions you would ask before investing in it?
I love the way you put it, that you felt the people that you were getting feedback from not only were evaluating your idea, but they were evaluating you as a person. Thank you for sitting down with me today and talking about some of these things that you did in your life. What we want this to be is to be a help to as many people as possible. if only to remind them, but also to encourage them about the next right thing that they should be doing. So,